It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Scentlock Technologies,
Scent Blocker,
Rambo Bikes,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Limwalker Game Calls,
Stanislawski Releases,
Copper John Sights,
Easy Cut Outdoor Products,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Sense Hunting Sense,
X-Stand Tree Stands,
Spot Shooters,
Gut Check Indicators,
and Packermax Cultipackers. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal podcast. Everybody, host Mike Adams sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan on Father's Day.
On Father's Day, this is the 16th of June, 2019.
That's right, but we're not the only ones here.
No, we're not. First, quick shout out to Courtney and Justin wishing us a happy Father's Day.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and let's bring Ken right in. Ken Cicluna, what's going on, my friend?
Not much, guys. Happy Father's Day, and just got back from up north doing some fishing, just hanging out.
Very nice. You were with your dad fishing, right?
Yep. Me and my dad have gone fishing on Father's Day probably every year for the past 8 or 9 years.
Very nice. Well,
so did you when you got him out there, you said, "Oh, Dad, I don't know how to fish. I'm in a slump. Show me, Dad." Because after the live stream on Thursday night, I'm convinced you are now sandbagging what you tell us, and I do not believe you at all.
Oh, I'm going to the hardest lake that I've ever fished. I don't do any good here, so guys don't expect much. And you did pretty doggone good.
Yeah, we took third place, and it's sometimes I feel silly with that. Oh, I'm in a slump stuff, but because I go through it every year, and I just need to remind myself, like everyone goes through it. And boy, fishing with Dom and winning that tournament really turned things around for me. Yeah, we took third place and made some key adjustments, and that was a fun tournament. It was interesting. There was a lot of things working against us there, and it worked out pretty good.
I tell you what, it was actually fun coming out there, and it was kind of when we got there about about a half hour before the weigh-in time, and it was kind of like, okay, and I saw boats out there, so I figured you guys were out there, and I'm like,
and it was raining once again.
It was raining, and so it was
cold.
We could see a couple boats out on the lake that looked like fishermen boats. I'm like, okay, so they're probably out there. And
nobody else in their right mind to be on a lake when it's 54 degrees and raining out on a Thursday evening.
Yep, we were the only ones.
It was pretty good, but but at 5 to 9, 3 to 9, it was like a mad-on rush to that.
Well, wait, before you guys came in, Danny was there. I pulled up, and I look over, and I see a county sheriff parked over in the...
I seen you guys talking to him.
And I'm like, Dan, what's he here for?
And he was there when we got there.
Yeah, and I said, you think he's here for crowd control?
I said, yes, absolutely.
So we went over and we busted his chops, and then he left.
Yeah. So it was kind of funny because he didn't get it either. He was like, I was wondering what was going on here because there's never anybody, this many. Look at the weather, he said. And he goes, oh, I better get out of here.
Right. So he left.
So
it gets crowded.
So Thursday night with the weather the way it was, kind of explain how you ended up in the spot where you caught the fish.
Okay. So me and Alec have history there. We fished on my boat before he had that boat. So we've done Fenton Lake several times over the past few years, and we have one spot. Because in my boat, and Fenton Lake's a pretty big lake, and in my boat, you're kind of committed to one area of the lake once you go there. And I always like the south end, so I've caught big fish on the south end of the lake. So that's where Alec likes to go, because that's what he knows. And so sure enough, we pull in our number one spot, even though it's not that great, it is our number one spot. And his electronics on the front deck, because he runs one on the front and one on the console, isn't working. It's froze up.
Did you find out what was wrong with it? Has he gone in and looked at it?
He has. He's got to call into Hummingbird, I think.
Okay.
They're really good. So we'll see what's up, because they're brand new, $1,000 units, $1,200 units. So we need to get it figured out.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay.
So now I tell him, man, don't let this get you on tilt. Let's just put the boat right up on the break where we can see the weeds. We'll fish around in the weeds, do what we can, and so he's fooling with it. We're doing our best because it's super windy and it's hard to control the boat anyway. And, those electronics come in handy, especially on Fenton. It's an HD map that they have contoured. Humminbird Lake Master chip came in recently and got an updated foot-by-foot contour line map of the lake. So you can really trust it. And when your boat is on the 10-foot contour line, you can trust that you're in 10 foot of water. So it makes it really hard to stay on that offshore, or easy when that stuff's working. So long story short, we spend almost the whole night back there in the south end fooling around. We get a couple fish, and now the wind is really picking up. And I'm like, well, hey, man, let's go to the north. Well, actually, he was like, let's go to the north end. Where do you want to go? And I had a spot that when I first went to Fenton, I went there and I caught some fish on it. And I'm like, let's try here. And it was a tough spot to stay on with the wind. But, man, we showed up and just started catching fish. And with literally, we were like, hey, this is the last cast and we got to go. I hooked a 3-pounder. And we literally put it in the live well, threw our life jackets on, and ran back.
So, I will admit, when you say run back, your guys are flying back. You guys were hauling to get back.
Yes, he got that boat on a windy day. With the wind to our back, he was going 70 miles an hour, and that's rocking on the water.
How was your breathing?
I told him I could. I'm like, I could not breathe. I'm like, I don't know how you can breathe and drive. It just took my breath right away. So I had to keep my head down with my hood over my head so I could breathe. And the rain just felt like razor blades on our face. And, but yeah, it was basically those electronics going out turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because it kind of just led us to do stuff we wouldn't normally do. And who knows, if those electronics didn't go out, I don't know if we would even ended up on that spot that we caught all those fish at. So,
that's a good point. That's good. So are you kind of, you're kind of tipping it off that pre-fishing lakes is kind of important.
It is, and it isn't. Sometimes going in with no preconceived notions is the best way, where you just go fishing. But it is helpful to know where the lake is at, what the fish are doing, to know where the good spots are that everybody else knows. So yeah, if you can pre-fish, if I have a chance to pre-fish a lake, I will always do that. But again, if I'm in a situation where I go to a lake like the Tuesday night tournament, we were supposed to be at Woodland. Well, there was another tournament going on that didn't register, so we didn't know. They switched it to Chemung last minute. So me and Eric showed up at Chemung. Neither of us have ever been on the lake. Uh-oh. We had no preconceived notions. We were like, immediately the pressure's off, right?
Right.
We're like, well, because we were going to pre-fish that lake. So we were like, hey, no pressure. Let's just go fishing and have fun tonight. And, we didn't place or anything, but we caught a bunch of fish and we figured something out. So, when you don't pre-fish, sometimes it just takes the pressure off and you can just go fishing.
No, you get into a situation where you have no clue what to do, no preconceived notions of where to be.
Yep.
And whether that's hunting, fishing, or anything else, and all of a sudden things just happen to turn out.
Right, exactly.
That's cool.
And like Thursday night for you, you caught that last minute fish. It catapulted you into third place, and you guys walked away with a little bit of a prize. And then he won a gift certificate, I think.
Yep, to a local bait shop. Yep.
So it worked out pretty good for a rainy night.
Not bad.
Yeah, it did. And it was fun. It was the first time I got to fish with Alec in a while, and it's just fun when the plan comes together, because I was struggling. With an hour to go, I hadn't caught a fish. I had lost 2 fish that we seen jump in the air and spit the hook. So I'm feeling the pressure because I'm yet to even put a fish in the boat. At this point, he's got 3 in the boat, and I haven't even contributed, which is fine. It's not like we get mad at each other for that, but you want to contribute. And you're like, if I could just do my part, we might have a shot here. And then luckily, the last half an hour, I caught 2 fish. And it just, that was just crazy. That was probably one of the wildest 3-hour tournaments I've ever fished, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good.
It really was, yeah.
And it was kind of ironic that, after all the rain, we talked about it and everything, the sun came out.
It did, yeah. Right away, and the sun comes out.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. But it was good. It was cool to be there to see the weigh in. How long these guys seem like they've been around for a while? How long has this, I guess, tournament trail or whatever you call it been in existence?
Well, I know NBAA has been around a long time. Rick and Bob have been running Thursday nights for a long time, but they were with a different organization the past 4 years, and they switched and they went to NBAA, and a lot of the Thursday night crowd from CFB followed them over. And so a lot of those guys, some of the fishermen you've seen there, not including the directors, they've been fishing tournaments, since I was in high school.
Okay, so the name of this tournament is called?
It's NBAA, and I'm not sure. It's National Bass Anglers Association, I think is what it stands for.
Okay, and then you said another one.
There's another one, Cash for Bass.
Okay,
yep,
that's the one the guy at work fishes.
Okay.
And he was talking about going out on Saturday fishing, and he's almost saying like the same lakes you're saying. I'm like, wait a minute, are you guys in the... Okay, I think he mentioned that he does the Cash for Bass.
Yeah, Cash for Bass, actually, they have two huge tournaments on Lake St. Clair. They do a ton of inland stuff, too. Don't get me wrong. That's their bread and butter. But Terry, the owner of Cash for Bass, a couple times a year, they put on huge events on Lake St. Clair called Monster Quest. And the first Monster Quest was actually scheduled for yesterday, but they had gale force winds on St. Clair, so they just canceled it till today. So today was Monster Quest on St. Clair, and that's a huge tournament. First place is $10,000, so it's kind of a big one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
it's big time.
What's wrong with the little wind on the lake?
Gale force?
Yeah. Come on, I've been out hunting in gale force winds.
A little different when you got your feet on terra firma.
No, I was up in a tree.
Still, you're anchored to the ground.
I got out of there real quick.
She'll swallow. Lake St. Clair will swallow you up.
Been there, done that. Yeah, that lake can get that can turn in a heartbeat.
Is that because it's so shallow? The waves get up on it quick? Okay.
This is exactly right. Yeah, it churns up real fast, just like Lake Erie there, outside of Breast Bay. I mean, it can happen real fast out there. And Great Lakes waves, they come in wolf packs. It's not just one big wave, a few seconds later. I mean, it's boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, it ends up being boom, boom, boom. And speaking of boom, boom, boom,
he just got hit by a Great Lakes wave. We couldn't have planned that any better.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. But yeah, okay.
One of those Wolfpack waves got him.
It is too. Yep. You know what? I'll have to talk to him tomorrow morning when I see him and see how he did or if he went or whatever, and kind of.
I bet you that's what he was fishing.
So I heard he threw out some of the lakes I think that you mentioned that they fish on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like Pontiac, I think, and stuff. And
yeah, that's the one me and Dom went on last week. Yep.
So I mentioned to him, well, I'll give you some pointers and tips where to go. It was kind of funny. I said, if I get what I want out of you for this work thing, I'll give you some tips for your bass fishing tournament.
You better watch what you're telling him, Ken. He's going to give you up, man.
Yeah, you got a guy.
I wouldn't. Well, it's two different leagues, so.
It's Ken might fish it. You never know.
So it's pretty funny, actually. It was because this guy kept talking. I'm like, it sounds like it, but it's not. He does the other one. So
yep. And Fenton Lake is a real popular one. Pontiac Lake's a real popular one. Not Cass. What's the other one up there? Orion.
Lake Orion.
Lake Oakland. Those are all heavily hit lakes that he probably knows all about. Those are all fished very heavily.
Right? Ken, if Danny was a really good team member, he'd be getting the info from the other guy to give to you.
That's what I'm saying.
Come
on, Danny.
I'll hold on. It's not over yet. I got to do some wheeling and dealing at work, so I figured.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
What my chips are worth here. Now I find out this guy's doing this bass thing. This might work out good.
Yeah.
Got the inside dope on it.
Right, exactly.
Jeez, oh, Pete's. Well, I tell you what, let's go to a break real quick. We come back. Ken, we don't want to keep you too late tonight because I know it's Father's Day and you want to spend time with your family. But
sure.
We come back. Well, I want you to talk a little bit about what you experienced today with your pop out fishing. So we're going to step outside real quick and we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back, second segment of the show. Before we get too far away here, don't forget Hunter's Blend Coffee, the official coffee of the Up North Journal. If you go over to Hunter's Blend Facebook, or actually website here, let me throw this up real quick.
Yep, go to the website. When you're checking out, remember to use the promo code capital U, capital N, capital J. You'll get an extra 10% off.
Promo code right there.
Right in the bottom of your screen when you're looking at the show, or if you're on the podcast, make sure you get over there, check it out. They have other stuff as well. They got the blends. They've got it ground. They've got the bean. They've got cups, hats, shirts,
all that kind of good stuff.
Yep. So go check them out for us. Help us out there promoting Hunter's Blend Coffee. And you know what? You're not just helping them. You're helping a bunch of other organizations that they filter down to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But Ken,
yes.
you being Father's Day and your tradition went off to Lake, we ain't going to tell you, wherever that might be, and you took your dad fishing.
Yep. We tradition. We've been fishing together on Father's Day. I don't know, 8 or 9 years every year. And we actually went up last night. Got a cheap motel. I mean, we got property up there. We have nothing to sleep in yet, so we got a cheap motel. Woke up at 5 a.m. today and went out and actually ended up doing pretty good. Started out really slow and cold and windy and not a whole lot of talking this morning on the boat. Just
what'd you do? Did you make him mad?
No, it was just one of those times where I think we were both cold and miserable and just trying to get a fish in the boat and kind of got something figured out. Again with the drop shot. I mean, this seems like the past couple weeks, it's all they want to eat is this drop shot bait. And we were throwing this lake. It's Lake Lancer. It's not a secret. It's a public lake. I've got a tournament there, and they spray it really hard with poison to kill all the weeds, just like on Fenton, on all the lakes really. But this was really bad. I haven't seen a lake this bad in a while. I mean, it was just like a desert out there. I mean, there was no grass. I could not mark a blade of grass. And it's not like the grass was there. It was just dead. It was gone. There was nothing. It was just vaporized. And this is a lake that typically has a lot of grass. But I heard that they, went extra this year and did more spray. I don't know all the details there, but basically what I was looking for all day was I call them little oasis. You'd find out in the middle of the lake, there'd just be maybe a clump of grass the size of two trucks put together. And it'd be bright green. It's almost like they missed the spot or something. And the poison, it was bright green grass, milfoil, or curly leaf pondweed. And if you could find this green grass, you guarantee you're going to get a fish off it.
Well, it looks like in the picture you guys got quite a few.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I probably caught 15 keepers today. I mean, we caught a zillion fish all day. My dad caught some nice bluegill and crappie on his little bobber and worm setup, and we caught fish all day, and those were just the 5 biggest, Yeah. I think those 5 weighed about 11.5 pounds, which probably would not have been good enough for anything on a weekend event there.
Well, that's funny you say that, because we're getting a comment that says, "Don't let them fool you. I caught all those fish." But he did have a great time with his son with him fishing.
Good,
so
good.
Your dad's the one who really taught you how to fish. Is that right?
Yeah. Well,
did he school you today?
Yeah. Well, we can say that. That's fine.
He's not here to argue with you, right? Is that the way it is? He's typing right now, I think, as we speak.
No, my dad, he's the one that instilled the fishing in me. And I can still remember the first bass I caught with him. And, he's a bobber and worm guy, strictly. And I went nuts with it. But he still loves to go. He loves it.
That's awesome.
How old were you? How old were you about that you can remember, even with the bobber and worm idea? How old, going fishing?
I don't know. My dad would probably know better than me, but I want to say since I could, probably 5 or 6, since I could sit still long enough and not be a problem for him. He was taking me fishing. I mean, I remember he would take me to the fishing show back when it was at Cobo. And back in those days, man, they would give you bags full of free sample lures, and we'd come back to his place and dump them all out. And I'd be going through it all and coming up with my own, putting all these crazy lure combinations together, and and it was just it's been an obsession since a very early age, even with artificial lures. So it's been my whole life.
Isn't it? It's cool, man. Being a dad, number one, but as a young lad, having your dad, you look up to him. He's your superhero. He can do anything. He can climb a mountain, scale a building. I mean, he's like Superman, like I said. But when they teach you something and instill that in you, and all of a sudden you pick it up and run with it, I know. Me as a dad, when I watch my kids do that, it just makes you smile. It warms your heart, and I got to assume it's the same way for him watching you do the things that you love to do now.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, and I tell him, thanks for taking me fishing. I mean, right. It's because it led to the hunting. It led to everything. It was the start of it all, really. And one thing I need to get better at is that I've really need to maybe put tournament fishing on the back burner a little bit and start putting some time into getting other people into fishing. Take somebody fishing that you would never think to take fishing. That's what I want to start doing. Taking some kids that would never go fishing, taking them fishing. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. It's funny we were talking about that because you never know where it's going to lead.
Right, exactly. And just like you said, you were about 8. We got the word. You were about 8.
Okay.
And but yeah, you never know. You take them fishing. They might not like it, but they might like it. And they might not like the way you do it, but they might pick up a different. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, they might start fly fishing. You plant the seed.
Well, I know when I was a kid, my dad took me hunting. I was probably 5. First time I really remember being out in the woods.
Yeah.
And I loved it, got into it. And then when I went away to college, I kind of grew away from it. And then about the time I got done, I graduated college, got my first job, started raising a family. Then I started coming back to it. So even if they go away from it, there's a good chance they're going to come back to it at some point in their life.
Yep. So I look forward to taking my son fishing, and like I said, I want to start taking other people fishing too, and try to pass it along. And that goes for hunting too. Every year I try to get someone to go turkey hunting with me. I'm yet to have that happen, but I think passing it on, whether it's hunting or fishing, is just huge.
I think that's incredibly huge for our sport. We have to become the ambassadors of making this go.
Yep. Yeah. If we don't, then who's going to pick up that torch and carry it? I mean, we have to pass it on to the next generation. And it doesn't have to be the next generation even. I mean, I took a guy turkey hunting last year for the first time, and he had just retired from work. And now he wants to keep going. He loves it. So.
Yeah. I know it's like you hear about hunter numbers declining, and as a bow hunter on state land in southeast Michigan, I find that hard to believe. But I just there's people trying to take it away, and we need more people doing it.
You're on the right track. You got your son. I seen you at the fishing show, Outdoorama, and yep. So you're getting them exposed already, and seeing it and being around it. So the next natural step is taking them out,
absolutely.
And then one of the best things I found out is maybe find out one of their little friends when they get into school.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's what happened with Kelly and Gabby, right?
Right.
Gabby all of a sudden started. Kelly was already shooting
right
the bow, so then Gabby's like, "Well,
that looks cool,
right?" So now she's into it. She got an 8-point last year, so now she's hooked.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. You're right, Ken. As people of the sport, we have to become great ambassadors of the sport.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Biggest fondest memory of fishing with your dad.
I would have to. I mean,
it can be funny too. If he pushed you in or something like that, or he backed up the boat and you fell, something like that.
So I remember. Well, it's a tough one because I remember my first bass. I catching my first bass on a crankbait, but my dad will remember this. This is a different story. We used to fish. We used to go to Belleville Lake under the Rawsonville Road Bridge, and there's all kinds of jagged rocks from the construction that were still there, and that's where we fished. That's where I grew up fishing all summer. And I'll never forget. My dad would read the newspaper while he fished, and I would run up and down the bank fishing. And he would always prop his pole up in between two rocks and just cast it out with they were called crappie spreaders, and he'd have whatever bait on there he had. And I'll never forget, he got a bite, and the rod was just bending, and it must have been a carp or something huge because that rod shot straight up in the air, went in the water, and I still remember to this day watching the rod just take off like a torpedo. into the water, and it was gone. I'll never forget that.
Oh.
So that's probably my funniest memory with him. I'll never forget that day. I remember it like it was yesterday.
So what's the one thing he's going to bust your chops about now?
Oh, probably me being a crybaby on the boat or something when I'm in a slump or something, you know. I remember one time when we first got the boat, and I was really trying to get in the bass fishing, you know, and it would have been like 2 weeks since I even caught a fish, you know, because I would go with him every time on the boat, and it seriously had been 2 weeks before I caught a legal bass, and I was so steaming mad on the chain of lakes, and I see this 10-year-old girl with a hot pink Cinco catch like a 4-pounder right in front of me, and I just was like, what's going on, you know? And I think we just went back, you know. I took my ball and went home. I remember that. So you needed probably something like that.
You needed one of those Barbie rod and reels. That's what it was, the rod and reel combo.
Yeah. That was probably something like that, because I used to get really upset, but I've calmed down a whole bunch, like we talked about that. Having the kids chilled me out. So.
Well, it's good to be competitive. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. So
do you have a fishing memory with your dad?
Oh, with my dad, the first time I really remember doing anything out in the out as far as fishing is going smelt dipping with him.
Okay.
I was young. I want to say maybe 8, 9 years old, and I had waders on that were like up over my head. You know, they were his waders, but I tried putting them on, and I don't even remember where we were at, but the smelt were running, and it was raining. It was cold. The waves of Huron were crashing, and my waders got filled full of water. I don't know how many times. We caught smelt, but I caught pneumonia.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, yeah, I got soaked to the bone. I mean, it was the middle of night when they were running. So,
right.
That was probably the one memory that really sticks out in my mind.
Okay.
With my dad. My dad's he wasn't really a fisherman per se.
And you're right. Your dad says you're a crybaby.
Yeah. I knew that was coming.
So, my fishing memory, we used to go to our relatives up in Canada, way up in Quebec. And what I know now about fishing, OMG, I got to get back up there.
Right.
But anyways, my dad every morning gets up, goes down on the dock, casts, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, he's casting, he thinks he's got it stuck in the weeds. He ends up catching about I think it was close to a 40-inch pike.
Wow.
Off the dock.
Nice.
Exactly, right? But we got to go somewhere. So we put it on the live stringer, attach it to the dock, and we leave.
You come back, the dock's gone?
We come back, the fish is gone.
Oh, the fish is gone.
My memory of him was reeling it in and everything like that. But the best part of this story is there was 2 girls a couple cabins down that came down, took the fish down, and claimed it as theirs.
Oh. No.
So my dad's uncle at the time, now you got to remember, this is in Quebec, so the French started flying, and you could hear the echoing across the lake of my dad's uncle just unloading on this other people about taking the fish and being on the dock, and it was just one of those things in
Letting
French.
The words fly in French. Huh?
Oh, it was probably pretty raw.
Nice.
It was good, but that's a memory I have of my dad standing on the end of that dock, just casting, and he ended up caught one. Actually, there was a walleye hole right out in front, which was kind of cool too. But that was one of those memories as a kid that I remember. It was pretty cool.
That's good. Well, I'll tell you what, Ken, I know it's Father's Day. We appreciate you being on the show for a half hour with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go spend the rest of your Father's Day with your son and enjoy it. And we're going to kick it to a break here. And we come back, Danny and I talk a little more about the hunting side of Father's Day with us. So thanks again. We'll talk to you here real soon. Stay in touch. And if you get back on the water this week, good luck and no crying, okay?
No crying.
You've been hitting it pretty
crying.
Good the last week, man.
No crying on Facebook anymore.
All right. Take care.
Right.
We'll talk to you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep,
Love
take
it.
care.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, bye. So that's good stuff, man. I tell you what, let's go ahead and we'll throw it to a break. When we come back, we'll pick up the conversation. Danny and I will talk a little bit about our dads and the hunting side. So we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Welcome back. Third segment of the show. Talking fathers and Father's Day and good memories and
Absolutely.
all that stuff. So, Danny, you're on deck.
I'm on deck. So, my dad passed away in 2016. When I was young, we had a hunting cabin up in the UP of Michigan that, actually before that, I would, when pheasant hunting was kind of really big in the state, I would get to go as the retriever boy, I guess.
Okay. You were the dog. You were the pointer.
Well, then we had the dogs.
Okay.
I went with them.
Okay.
But yeah, no. So growing up, went up to Camp Whiskey Jack, started there. But then as my dad got older, and then he started not going anymore, and then I kind of picked up going to the new family camp that we have over in Crystal Falls. And finally, later in life, he was able to go again with us. And the last few years that he was with me up at the cabin was just incredible. It was funny. He kind of moved back home with my brother, and we were just, he was so, growing up, he couldn't tell you because he didn't know how to talk. Mm-hmm. He would yell. Mm-hmm. But as he got older, I think, I don't know, he was able to talk and tell things and kind of say things that you would never get out of him when we were teenagers. That was just not happening. But, yeah, so there you get the picture with my brother and I sitting on the back porch of my brother's house. And he would sit there for hours, listen to the radio, and watch the world go by. And he loved it. And then when I took him up north, the one year with my cousin, Brian, we took him to the bar. And this is probably one of the most best photos that I just love it. My cousin Brian was with us, and we took him to the bar, and he was just, because back in his day, they did the same thing. Okay. They would go hunting, go to the bar, but we take him to the bar, and we had a great time, and he loved it, and he kind of said it, and one of the last years that he was up there with me, I was able to shoot a deer, basically right out in front of the cabin, and actually after I shot it, it ran towards the cabin. So it was
less of a drag.
Right. Literally, it was less of a drag. And I shot it real early. I mean, it was like 7:30, and it ran towards the cabin. It dropped. So I just walked to the cabin and said, hey, you want to help me get this deer out of here? And, you can see he's got a cane. And so I dragged it, and I said, well, you're going to help me gut it. And I said, here, hold this leg. And he watched me gut it. But that was probably one of the best hunts that I was on, that he was with me. He never got a deer. He got a deer way back when, and I think my brother was small at the time, and my brother came out and asked where the horns were. So he ended up getting a doe, I do believe. That was the only deer he ever got. But he, in my beginning years, one of the things I would follow him around as we went and walked around the woods, and because I couldn't carry a gun, I'd carry a stick. Okay. And I'll never forget this is, we're coming up to this pine tree, and it had just snowed, and there's snow on the pine tree, right? And
I've heard this story before.
So we're walking along, and of course I hit the tree with the snow, and it just drops all on him. And of course I'm cracking up, and he stops dead in his tracks. He's got snow all down his back. Turns around, looks at me, and goes, "Don't do that." So that was one of the good memories I had, and it was fun to that point, and then later in life, like I said, having him up at the cabin was probably to top it off. That last hunt, I think that was the last year he did go, because he was starting to his balance was not getting good, and in the cabin it didn't work out good in a couple times. So, they treated October, the opening of pheasant, like it was another opening day. Right. And my brother actually went more than I did. I never went to a true pheasant opener with a gun. Right. I went as the gun boy. And so he did. They actually, to tell you the truth, the picture with the house, the red house in the background where we grew up, back when my dad was younger, across the street was the cornfield, and my dad actually lived one street behind that. Okay. From where we were, and if it was dinner and they needed something, they'd go walk into the cornfield and go shoot a pheasant or two, and then that was dinner.
That was dinner.
Yeah, so it's amazing. It's just what you hear from what they had to do to what,
right,
what we do today,
They had to do back then to put food on the table, where we do it today is a passion to get out and have enjoyment.
Right, exactly. And actually, there's a video that I posted. That was when I got with a gun. I had him up there in October, and he shot a crossbow. And
I remember you.
And he
posting
was
that.
so tickled, and he was so determined that he was going to shoot it, and he did it. And it was cool. It was probably one of the best videos I ever got of him. But yeah, those memories. It's amazing as you grow up to see your parents evolve. Mm-hmm. Or I don't even know what words you use, but it's just amazing. And then because my mom died 20 years ago, I miss her for my kids growing up, but I'm glad my kids were able to spend some time with my dad.
Right.
And as little as it was, but we understand what his age was, but he got to see him, and it was funny. He'd sit on my front porch when he was over, and he would or sit in the back porch, watch the woods, mm-hmm. and he wouldn't say nothing really.
He was enjoying it.
He was enjoying it.
Yeah. So. What did he think about what you're doing now with what we do? I mean, you were with me at that time before he passed. What did he think about the outdoors dream you were chasing?
I don't think he understood it a lot, and I just kind of could show him things.
Yeah.
And that was probably about as good as he got with it.
Okay.
That was one of the things that for his education level and 8th grade, I think it was, that he made it to. But having his kids go further than he did was a big thing for him. But also owning his own business. Mm-hmm. That was something that we did. And he thoroughly enjoyed that business. He'd go down there on Sundays and talk to the plants. It was just one of those things. But as far as the outdoors, when we were up at that cabin and he saw what we had, because he could remember the old cabin to the new cabin.
Right.
And just the fact that we now had electricity, we had a toilet, and we had a shower.
Right. That's big.
That was huge.
Right.
Because in the old camp, we had propane lights and an outhouse. No shower. Mm-hmm. But as far as that, seeing and being able to walk to the creek where the bridge was or go take him somewhere else on the property, as far as that, he was thoroughly loving what we was able to do.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
It is. It was really cool, and to share those moments with him. Like I said, the one in the bar is probably in the top 5 of one of those nights that you could just see the glow on his face, and it was just one of those things. The glow on his face when I shot a buck. I know my brother took him out as well, mm-hmm. out in the blind with him, and that was one of the things was really cool. He would do that, and he had no problem. As a matter of fact, I walked to the blind where I shot that 6-point. There's a log there, and I'll never forget this log because it's the one he tripped over. And the funny part is my brother tripped over the same log. And so now it's almost like my dad's logging out. It's just a matter of time before I'm going to trip over this thing. I understand that. But it's just those points in life.
Those things, they're markers.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're just markers and points of our lives.
Exactly. So it was really cool. So, no, I miss them both. I miss my dad, obviously. And it's just one of those things. It's life,
Yeah. It doesn't stop for anybody, unfortunately.
It does not stop for anybody. And I'm thoroughly thankful I was able to take him up to the new camp and kind of say, hey, mm-hmm. Dad, we took what you guys started
and moved it
forward. And we moved it forward, and here we are today.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just one of those things, man. It was just the electricity, the shower thing. I remember a few comments about the shower. He thought that it was just a square, I think it's 36 by 36.
Right.
Something like that.
A little stall to stand in.
Oh, my God. He loves that thing. So
made a difference.
Yeah, and other things, he always wanted to do the dishes. Mm-hmm. Okay, do the dishes. One time, Bill and Andy were up in October, and they brought down some fresh fish, and they let him cook it, which was just, and I think I got a video of that, too, and I got to find that. But Andy watched him, of course, and just let him cook it, and he was just glowing.
He was in his element.
He was loving life. So that's
cool.
That's the way it was. So I'm happy for him, and that he got to experience that with both of us, and in kind of a different sense, because my brother hunts in the southern, and I was able to take him back to the UP. Because they always used to go to the UP, and they always used to say, meet you in Mayo.
Yep.
They'd meet him in Mayo, and then they would go get in line at the bridge.
Right, to cross on the ferry before the bridge was built.
Yep.
Yep.
So that was cool. Cool. But fond memories for Father's Day.
That's good, man.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll step outside, we'll take a break, we'll come back, I'll give you a little bit of mine, and then we'll wrap up the show. We'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back for the segment of the show. If you're listening to the podcast, you got to go back and listen to that last break. Good stuff.
It is.
Maybe we'll talk about it here if we got enough time at the end. But we're talking Father's Day, and we're talking about our dads. Earlier in the show, Ken Cicluna talked about his dad and how he taught him fishing. Danny just talked about his father and seeing the change in deer camp and how you guys are moving that forward and the things you did. My dad, he's like a ghost.
You're right.
I tried to go back and find pictures.
Try.
My dad retired in 2010, moved south, and that's about the time we really ramped up North Journal.
Yep.
And the only time I'd really see him is when he'd come up, maybe in the springtime, or when I would go down there to see him, and then when he'd come back to camp to go deer hunting. And he was very elusive from a camera. He just does not want his picture taken. And honestly, through all the years, all the family photos have been lost along the way. We didn't lose him in the house fire. We don't know what happened to him. Somewhere during a move, him and my mom split up. We don't know what happened to the family photos. So we don't have a lot from back when I was little. And I did catch him one day here at the house.
Were you watching a football game?
Yes, we were. Yeah,
I looked at that and went, wait a second.
Yeah,
we were watching a football game.
We were watching Alabama.
Yeah, boss. I figured that.
What else would we watch? You know
right,
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But yeah, that's my dad, and he pretty much taught me a lot about the outdoors. And that's where our strong bond is. I mean, we worked together a lot. We had a business together, much like you and your dad did.
Yep.
Your family. But my dad and I, we had a construction business on the side, and we worked together almost every day. So once he moved south, it was really tough on me to not have him around all the time. And when we spend time in the woods together, that was, really something special for me.
And this was that one right there is 2 seasons ago, 3 maybe?
2 or 3, yeah. Yeah, that's probably the last photo him and I took together in the field.
Because I can tell by the arrows you're using.
Yep, exactly. And this photo I'm bringing up now, that's the only deer I ever took with him sitting beside me. And that was on my birthday. I was my 45th birthday, I think, or 44th.
Okay.
And that morning, you can't tell, but that morning, it was about 25 degrees before sunrise. And he's like, you need to sit with me this morning with a heater in the shooting house. We had an elevated shooting house.
Oh, okay.
And I said, no, I'm going to go sit in a tree stand. He's like, you're going to freeze to death. So I reluctantly gave in, and this nice mature doe came in, and I took it. And that's the only deer that I've ever taken sitting by my dad.
Okay.
So to me, that's really special.
That's really cool. That is something. Now
that means a lot.
He was sitting with you. Was he hunting too?
I think he's more just glad I was there.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Spend time. He had his bow. I had my bow.
Okay.
I
didn't know if he had a fight in the shooting house. Who was going to shoot?
No, because he won't shoot does. He doesn't like shooting does.
Okay.
He will if he has to. He understands the management of it, but he really doesn't want to. And actually, he's the one that took this photo. That's the reason he's not in it. But I really wonder what would have happened had a mature buck come through.
Well, he would have said, sit back, son.
Let me show you how it's done.
Right, yeah. I already know how that story would have ended.
Yeah, so. But he's taught me a lot about the outdoors. He gave me the passion and the drive to get into the outdoors. He understands what I do now. He really does. But he's not a person that would come on the show and sit and talk about it. I've tried to get him to before. Maybe one day.
He's elusive with the camera and the mic.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, he doesn't, like I said, it's hard to get a good photo of him and me in the woods together.
Right.
And, but he understands what we're trying to do. He really understands. I mean, even much like your dad, with deer camp, and then you've taken it to that next step. Once he passed the membership of our camp on to me, and he says, okay, my time here's done. It's yours now. He's seen me take off with it and try to start pushing forward with deer management, habitat management, and he says, I really like what you're doing, taking it to that next step.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so there you go. That's okay. As a child, it's one of the things you always strive for from your parents is to hear that acknowledgement,
the acceptance and acknowledgement, and the attaboy.
Right. Yep. That I can remember. God, for so many years, my dad would look at me and go, "You're gaining weight." Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Dad. Hey,
right.
Words, but later, same thing, just like that,
Yep.
So that's really cool, and it was really cool that you were able. How far did the deer go?
That one, probably less than 30 yards.
Was he excited?
Oh yeah, he was. He's like, man, you smoked that thing.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a good acknowledgement to come from him, and that's awesome. I know that time with him in the woods was priceless.
It is, and I've not killed a lot of deer with a bow. So I mean that doe right there. I'm trying to think if that was. I don't think that was my first one. That might have been my second or third one. But yeah, it's really special because of the fact that he was sitting with me. We were in the blind together, and it all went down him right by me.
Sharing Dr. Pepper and peanuts or something, and waiting for the Alabama game to come on.
No, not that time. No.
Oh, okay.
There would have been a game that weekend because it was on. It would have been probably a Saturday that we were out.
Right, and you're probably looking at the times, and we got to get back by.
Got to get back.
Yep.
Yeah. Got to make bologna sandwiches and get the Dr. Pepper out and watch a football game. So, but no, man, my pops, he means a lot to me. Last year was tough because last year was the very first year that him and I never hunted together for the year.
Oh, okay.
I mean, once. Let me take that back. When I was away at college, we didn't hunt together for obvious reasons.
Oh, yeah.
I was away at school.
Yeah.
But once I come back home, got back into hunting and got into it heavily, that was the first season that him and I did not spend any time together in the field. And it was hard.
Right.
It was real hard. I was lonely at camp because, me, I'll take a week off and go, much like what you do. And it's a lot more fun when you got people around.
Absolutely. And that was like with Kelly and I. Kelly had to go away to college and waited for her to come back. And 2 years ago, she was able to go up, and she got a 6 point last year, and then last year she wasn't able to go, but Gabby had the time off, so taking somebody new out in the woods, Gabby went, and she got one. So, but with your dad, did he ever? He wasn't the fisherman, but the hunting side of him, was he the one that taught you how to shoot?
He taught me how to shoot a gun, yes, and how to shoot a bow. But then I took to the next level when I was going to school at Eastern Michigan University. Back then, you could have rifles on campus. Go figure, at the ROTC building. And actually, I shot on the rifle team for 1 year.
Okay.
And Sergeant Major Wetzel, who's probably now passed on because he was old at that time, really taught me the finer points of marksmanship.
Right.
But no, my dad, he had me shooting rifles, 22 rifle, I think, when I was probably 4. Much like my kids.
Yep.
Same thing.
Started out with the BB
Started
gun.
when young.
Yep.
And then the archery bug, that caught. And he wasn't into trapping. He did some fishing, but not a lot. And, I got him to thank for my love and passion of the outdoors.
Well, he does some hunting down south now.
Yes, he does. Yes.
Does he's got a coyote issue down there too, right?
Yes, he does.
So I wonder if he deals with groundhogs like you deal with them.
You want to go there? We got some time.
I don't know.
Well, let's go ahead. Let's go there. Well, yeah, I don't think these groundhogs are quite as much of a problem down there as they are here with me right now. But this was earlier today. That's one. And
now you got to remember, folks, this is in 1 day.
Yeah. And at the same time, I shot that one.
Now was he burrowing?
No. He's just in a little wood chip pile.
Okay, he's in the wood chip pile. Okay.
Yeah. That's number 2, and that's number 3.
3 was getting the shovel ride.
Actually, that's number 4. Number 3, I didn't take a photo because it was just too gruesome.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they split them open. So, and I missed another one. So I took 4 today and 1 earlier in the week. So right now it's Mike 5, Groundhog 1.
At least these didn't stand up on your back deck looking at you going, shoot me.
That was 1 earlier this week.
Right, exactly. That's what I was referring to because you took a picture of.
Yeah, my wife's got a picture. Well, I think, he's laying on the deck.
Yeah. It's like, ooh, this is nice.
Yeah.
So you've got an invasion of groundhogs. Now, I noticed a comment by Tim Cius, and he says his grandpa would take every one of them, and he says those are some good eating.
Well, they're omnivores. They're not a garbage eater. It's red meat, but they're omnivores. So I got to imagine, I've heard people say that they take and eat them.
How'd you cook them?
I think like any other red meat, probably.
Really?
You know, you put enough barbecue sauce on it, it'll taste good. You know,
or what rub of your choice.
That's right. You know, we got plenty of different rubs that we can use here.
I don't know. It's okay. I could go with that, and gut one out. And put it in a crock pot.
I got some Buckhead's seasoning that I put on the chicken today on the grill. And I think we use that. That make anything good.
A little groundhog and Buckhead, and there you go.
You know what? Maybe, just maybe, I'll skin one out and we'll cook it up one day.
Are the pelts worth anything?
No.
Okay.
No. The only thing that they're worth is coyote bait in the back field right now. So
coyote bait and ruining your lawn and neighbor's lawn because they've moved in.
Right. But you know what? In honor of Tim Cius being on and mentioning that, I had my trail cams that I pulled back the first week of May. I brought them back home. I've got them laying on the floor. I've had them out running all winter. And I just went through them today. So I did grab a few photos today of some.
Oh, Tim, you're going to love these.
And actually, I think Tim has probably already seen this one on Facebook. I just simply love this photo. It's actually one of the best trail cam photos besides the eagle that I got last year. This, to me, it's beautiful. Nice.
You know what? If he could have been a little bit further to the right and his shadow would have been better,
it
would have been phenomenal.
He didn't take the cue, I guess.
No, he didn't, obviously.
But that was back on my field that I hunt on. That was back.
Is that what it is? The field?
Yep.
Tim Cius says I need to come south. Same texture as squirrel. There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll trust you on that. Here's another one from this winter. Nice bobcat and
crossing the road.
Well, the thing, you see how deep the snow is there,
right?
We plow that road when we get a lot of snow. Number one, it helps the deer travel.
Yep, it gives them a travel corridor.
And I've got photos I didn't share, or I didn't pull them over to show tonight, but maybe I will. We'll talk next week if we continue this. The coyotes and the deer both run this road, a lot. And the deer, I've got photos of deer actually coming off that mound of snow down onto the road, and actually before it's even plowed up, it's like back in the wood line there, and it's up, it's up past their elbow joint.
And
it's just a great photo showing the fact of how coyotes can chase them down.
And this bobcat here I'm pretty sure could walk on top of the snow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And
a lot of depending on how hard the top crust is.
I wonder if that's a big bobcat.
That's a good sized cat.
Is it?
Yeah. And then speaking of cats, well, we got dogs as well. And this one, it's a nighttime photo, and you can see the coyote just on the left edge of the screen.
This is a cool photo.
And he's got his head straight in the air, so he's got to be howling. That's the only thing I can attribute that to. Because he's looking straight up, and it looks like his mouth's open, but I got to assume that he's letting out a howl.
He's probably letting out a howl, letting everybody else know where the dinner menu is. And
actually, this is pretty close to camp here.
Was this camera close to camp?
Yeah, actually the dark black section you see between the trees is the lake, so that gives you an idea. Where it's at.
Okay, yeah, I know where it's at.
Yeah, but I thought that was pretty cool, and I got a couple other with yotes running. There's that road again. Yotes running in the snow.
And like you said, once you plow that, it gives them a corridor to run down.
Absolutely.
Literally run down it.
Yep. And it's just another coyote doing his thing. Now, that little critter there looks like he's got a full belly. That one kind of stuck out to me that he's pretty good size. He's got a pretty good sized belly there. And, I would think he needs to go. I think they all need to go.
But, well, there's a few that got to go.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I got a lot of coyote pics, but these just kind of stuck in my my mind.
And that's the thing. You're gonna need some good coyote bait, and I'm sure they're due for another babies. They've
already had them.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Yep, they've already had them. So they've already had their pups, and we need to get on them and start and put the smack down on them. We've got fawn drop, and actually we're really behind the game on that part of it. So, Hey, Tom Genzel, thanks for joining. Josh Hagerman, thanks for tuning in.
My brother said our dad had him load the 22 in the kitchen.
Not good.
Okay, so I can relate to that because he had me load the 16 gauge in the front room.
Okay, of the cabin?
No, of the house.
Oh,
It was before I think I went for hunter safety, and he was helping me learn.
Oh, he was teaching. Okay.
And my mom freaked out.
What are you doing?
Right?
Teaching them kids to load a gun in the house.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All he did was have me put it in, close the breech. It was a single shot, and then open again, and it went flying.
Right. Gotcha.
So with the 22, okay, that's our dad.
All right. But, no, just some cool pics I had, I thought I'd share with you guys. They just kind of stuck in my mind. There was one buck that I saw last year that is 2.5-year-old buck. Had nice, high rack on it. Just really wasn't wide. Wasn't real thick.
But he made it.
He made it through. I did see photos later in the season where he made it through, which I'm thankful for.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I won't know. Well, actually, I got the cameras up there now, so... I won't be able to see any antlers because they'll already be gone. But
gotcha.
But that's one of the things I'll be looking for when I go back up. But in your situation with all those coyotes, man, it's and I know they get breeding pretty well.
We've got a proliferation of them. Actually, I've got a sequence of photos, and I really got to go back and look at the timestamps on them. And it's just constant back and forth of coyotes in this one area. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's like 20 photos in a row, and I don't know if it's the same coyote. I didn't look at it that close.
Right,
the same coyote making multiple trips, or if it's 2 or 3 going one way and 2 or 3 coming back the other way.
Do you remember what time of year it was on that?
There was snow on the ground.
Okay,
that's all I remember.
I just wondered if it was like January, February.
I wouldn't even venture to say because I don't know. But what I did notice is a lot of coyote movement. A lot of it centered around heavy snows.
Well, yeah.
During a heavy snow, they're out running that road. Mm-hmm. And then right after a heavy snow, they're running.
Yeah.
So to me, that's when the storms hit is when you want to be out.
Right. In the bad weather, and
they're hunting.
And Chris Kreiner could probably tell you this. Same thing. Yeah. I'm sure he'd probably tell you that on some night he probably wouldn't think about going out there.
Yeah, it's a night to be out.
It's a night to be out.
Yeah, and that's when they're running is at night mainly.
Right.
So
we'll have to see how he's doing on his coyote population attack.
Right. So, but that's pretty much all I got for this week.
Yeah, it was one of those weeks. They had Father's Day today. Talked about our fathers.
I will show something real quick.
Real quick.
We won't talk about it a lot, but I did get the new target bow, the PSC shoot down. So we got it set up. It's not set up yet, but I got it built. You saw the video, hopefully, on our Facebook page talking about the build. And we'll go over this a little more in detail here in the next week or two. So once I start getting it dialed in. I will say this. I took it out in the backyard. Let me set it back down here. Can you set that there for me?
Yep.
And I got home, and after I got the sight set where I was hitting the bull, my 8th shot was Robin Hood.
You tubed an arrow.
And I was like, no, please no, not another one. So now
you did.
I'm down to 4 of those arrows, and I've got to go buy another dozen.
Right? Way to go. Way to ruin your arrows.
Yep. So, but
it just comes with practice, right?
I guess. That's the 4th time this year.
And don't shoot it the same.
I was just setting it up.
I know you were just
setting it up. Obviously, I didn't have a lot to do to it. Just set it up. But
right, exactly. So we'll talk about that more.
And you're working on one as well.
I'm working on one, and I should have mine back probably this week.
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll go ahead and wrap up the podcast portion, and hopefully we'll have some good stuff to talk about next week, because I don't know if I'm heading north or south to Indiana. I don't know yet. A lot of that depends on a decision this week. So we'll just leave it at that. But that'll do it for the podcast portion this week, folks. We'll be back again next week, same time, same channel. Y'all take care.
And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. This episode was brought to you by
PSE Archery,
Scentlock Technologies,
Scent Blocker,
Rambo Bikes,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Limwalker Game Calls,
Stanislawski Releases,
Copper John Sights,
Easy Cut Outdoor Products,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Sense Hunting Sense,
X-Stand Tree Stands,
Spot Shooters,
Gut Check Indicators,
and Packermax Cultipackers.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week on the Up North Journal.